Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. My channel is about marriage to a woman from the Philippines. I've been married since 2015 after a very fast relationship. And I talk about relationship issues because that's what I am concerned about. And we're not living in the Philippines, and I don't remember much about the visa process. I hired somebody to do that, so it would go as swiftly as possible, and I wouldn't be arguing with my, wife about the details. And that was a long time ago. So marrying a Filipina is still an option. Marrying somebody from overseas doesn't have to be a Filipina, is still an option. And many of you guys would probably say to yourself, if I don't do something like that, I may be alone for the rest of my life. And so leave a comment here if I say something that strikes a chord with you, and subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. I've got about 1,900 videos on YouTube, lots of playlists. So I want to talk today about the fact that, in my opinion, a Filipina or any woman you marry from anywhere will not meet your expectations. Won't meet your expectations. Now, I hope that you kind of know that already. However, I'm not so sure. When I read a lot of comments and I look at some other people's videos on foreigners and Filipinas, yeah, they have a great reputation. That's why I looked for one back then, got married very quickly. And that doesn't happen for everyone. But one thing I've learned, and one thing I kind of knew before I got married, and it was confirmed after I did, your wife, no matter how wonderful she seems before you marry her, is not going to meet your expectations. In fact, I hope this doesn't come as a shock to you, you're not going to meet her expectations either. So let's be realistic. Look for somebody that, you have some important things in common with them. If there's certain things that are very important to you, don't go against your core beliefs, your realistic must-haves. But that doesn't mean you're going to marry a perfect woman just because she's younger maybe and prettier. Does not mean she is going to meet all your expectations. Be ready for some surprises after you get married. Like I've said a million times before, it's only after you're married and living together that you're going to know who you married. Before then, it's so easy for a Filipina to be agreeable, to say everything you want to hear, to make it sound like she's an absolute angel. Well, she isn't. She's just a woman like everywhere else. If you're going to look for an age gap relationship, I've got lots of videos on that topic. It's in a playlist called Younger Wife on my YouTube playlist. And we have an age gap, me and my wife, and so there's lots of things I can talk about that you have to be realistic about and prepared for if you're going to be in that type of relationship. Filipina is not a docile and subservient woman like you might read on other channels. That's just nonsense. You're going to meet somebody that has their own way of doing things and their own goals, and it's best if you try to support them in their goals. And as always, have this view that marriage is not about you. As a husband, it's about what you can do for your wife, what you can do to sacrifice for her, meet her needs, as many wants and desires as possible. And somebody's got to be unselfish and sacrificial. I just happen to think as a Christian that needs to be the husband. And so you may invest a lot of your life into her and still be disappointed in some ways. And so you just have to be realistic. I'm not going to be one of those guys saying, hey, get a Filipina, they're fantastic. Forget about American women. They're all no good. You can find a great woman in the Philippines and be, living happily ever after. I'm not living happily ever after. I have to work hard at my marriage. My wife has to work hard at our marriage. And we've been married 9.5 years, which is which is fantastic, and I hardly believe it, but I'd like to think I'm doing something right. I'd like to think my wife is doing something right. And you want to get married with the goal of staying together for the rest of your lives. And I like to talk about those sorts of things on this channel, Love Beyond the Sea. Now, just because she's not going to meet all your expectations doesn't mean you're going to have a dreadful marriage. So always talk about your needs. Expectations is kind of tough to talk about because you can never force another person to do anything. Ultimately, you can try to influence them a certain way. You can communicate well. You have to be patient. Maybe she's not everything you thought she was going to be right away. Maybe in 5 or 10 years, she will be. You know, marriage is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Is my wife everything I expected her to be? No. And I would say there was something off about my expectations, and that's usually the way it is. We're unrealistic about what we're looking for, and we're escaping bad relationships in the past very often, and so we're looking for something that will like never ever cause any friction or trouble, and that's, in the human race, that's just not possible. You can be very happy and fulfilled if you have the right attitude and are patient with a woman from the Philippines or anywhere else. Just remember, if you're marrying someone that's, let's say 20, 22 years old and you're 25, 30 years older, she's going to act like a child in all likelihood, and that's going to drive you crazy a lot. And, you know, if you marry someone like that, that's on you if, you know, it isn't working out because of her immaturity. Expect immaturity. Do not expect maturity. Let her mature and grow without, you know, forcing her and expecting her, because nobody grows when forced. So I hope this doesn't sound very negative. I hope for you it's a breath of fresh air that when you're marrying somebody, you're going to go through tough times, probably, you know, frequently. I mean, it depends if it's a really tough time or a kind of a tough time. Sometimes things you can get over quickly, which is good. Other things may take weeks or months of sorting out. You might even need to get counseling. But that doesn't mean that you married the wrong person. Did I marry the right person? I sure think so. My wife, although she hasn't maybe, well, she's not a perfect wife, of course. There's no such thing, but she has been better than I expected in a lot of areas too. And so you take the good with the bad, so to speak. The person you marry is going to do the same with you. So love her, be patient, make the very best of it. So I hope you would leave a comment here. If you've been married to a Filipina, maybe you can speak from your experience. If you went into it with all kinds of high expectations, and maybe at what point you realized, you know, you just have to back off and be realistic. So I'm hoping that you picking up what I'm laying down here today on Love Beyond the Sea.